fact, I can also mention Chelsea, Hammersmith, Fulham, the list goes on. But this is the former village of Knightsbridge. There on the left-hand side is Harvey Nichols department store, famous for its sumptuous window displays, idiosyncratic, artistic, subtle. Look for the price tags though, and you won't find them. In fact, there's a saying in Knightsbridge, if you have to ask the price, you probably can't afford it. How snobbish is that? There on the left-hand side is Burberry, another famous shop, quintessentially English clothing. Up until recently, the colours available from Burberry were as follows. You could have your clothes in beige, 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 also beige, not forgetting of course beige. But now they're broken out into charcoal grey and navy blue. My God, is there no end to their reckless adventure in colour? Obviously not. In the distance on the left, there's a tantalising glimpse of Harrods department store lit up like a fairy castle. Don't worry if you can't see it, we'll be taking a close look at Harrods a little later on. But now we leave Knightsbridge and we head towards another former village, the former village of Kensington, coming up next.
这个延伸了，它停了。哦，还看螺旋的，我可以把我丢到里。
So here we are in Kensington, and on the right-hand side, coming into view now, are the Hyde Park Barracks. These are the buildings where the soldiers of the King go to rest after a hard day's work guarding the royal family, and their horses as well. When we see the soldiers of the King on parade in their bright red lights, it's easy to forget that they are in fact fully trained modern combat soldiers. Well, that is indeed what they are. The old-fashioned uniforms, of course, are just for show. The home and the household cavalry, the Hyde Park Barracks on the right-hand side. Oh, it's terribly exciting in the army. And now another royal park comes into view, this time on the right-hand side. Shortly we will see Hyde Park. And there's Hyde Park coming into view on the right-hand side. It's the largest royal park in central London and the first royal park to become open to the public in the year 1637. Before that, it was the King's private hunting ground. Hyde Park has been an inspiration for urban parks throughout the world. It was inspiration for the Bois de Boulogne in Paris, Central Park in New York, and there's even a Hyde Park in Sydney, Australia. But there's the original Hyde Park on the right-hand side. It's vast, it's huge, it's like a tract of countryside in the middle of town. Hyde Park on the right. Well, still the bare branches of winter time, but not for much longer. As I said, spring is on its way.
OK 啊，OK 可以啊，快点吗？快点，听到可以。
Surely on the left-hand side, we'll see one of the world's great concert venues, the Royal Albert Hall. The Royal Albert Hall is named after Prince Albert, who was the husband of Queen Victoria. He was a cultivated and cosmopolitan man from Germany, passionate about the arts, particularly passionate about music, himself an accomplished amateur musician. Sadly, he died relatively young, in his 40s. That was in 1861. His memory was nonetheless cherished, and 10 years after the death of Prince Albert, the Royal Albert Hall first opened its doors to the music-loving public. And there is the Albert Hall on the left-hand side. A very impressive building, I'm sure you'll agree, and the interior is vast. The audience capacity is about 5,000. The Albert Hall to the left, and there, if we look to the right, we see the Albert Memorial. the statue of Prince Albert in
Hello
gold
Kitty
under a Gothic canopy.
嗰個喺邊度啊？我先要食喎。佢先應承過咗喺呢度食到。但係我想冇食喎。我拍緊片喎，咪我拍緊呢度啊！停佢，喂，可以轉
So we
喎。
say goodbye to the Albert Hall and Hyde Park now as we head towards the museum district of South
就
Kensington.
係咪先？係。
In a few moments from now, we will pass three of the world's most fascinating museums: the Natural History Museum, the Science Museum, and the Victorian Albert Museum, coming up in a few moments from now. It's worth remembering that most of London's major public museums are free of charge to the permanent collection. These three included. And I'm sure you'll agree it's a great asset to the cultural life of the capital. In a few moments we will see, as I say, the Natural History Museum, the Science Museum, and the Victoria and Albert Museum, all clustered together in an area known as South Kensington. And so we'll turn left at these lights, and we will see the museums in full view in just a few moments.
邊度啊？咁又去私人㗎？我哋唔使去㗎，但係因為我哋要翻屋企，我哋要翻屋企咯。
So when the lights turn from red to green, we will turn left, and the first building we will see is the Natural History Museum, a magnificent building which dates from the 1880s, designed by the British architect Alfred Waterhouse in a wonderful style known as, well, a kind of revival of Romanesque, an early medieval style known as Romanesque. That's where the architect took his inspiration. And there we see the magnificent facade in full view now to the left of our pass. The Natural History Museum is, among other things, home to one of the world's largest collections of fossils. The pièce de résistance in the main vestibule is a giant skeleton of a Diplodocus dinosaur. There's the main entrance on the left-hand side, coming into view now. Admire, if you will, the wonderful carved archway. The word
佢
visiting the
閂咗
Natural
啦。
History Museum simply to admire the architecture, let alone the splendid exhibits
點解都開
inside.
門嘅？
Coming into view now on the left-hand side, tucked behind the trees, slightly obscured by them, is the Science Museum there on the left. Inside the Science Museum, among other things, there is an actual Apollo space capsule, a replica of the original Stephenson's rocket steam engine, one of the prototypes of modern travel, and much else besides, of course. And now the third of the great museums of South Kensington comes into view now on the left. It is the Victorian Albert Museum, named in honour of Queen Victoria and her husband Prince Albert, who I mentioned already in reference to the Albert Hall and the Albert Memorial. The Victorian Albert Museum is the largest museum in the world dedicated to the decorative arts. And there's the main entrance on the left. So we say goodbye to South Kensington now as we head back towards Knightsbridge to take a closer look at Harrods Department Store. Coming up next.
唔係，呢度。